It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview a New York Yankees Mets grounds crew, Dakota Smothergil. How are you doing today?
Doing well, Brandon. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to work in professional sports?
Ever since I was a kid, I've always had a love for the game of baseball. So it's always something I wanted to get into, whether it be playing wise or anything really. And then I found my love for turf and just ran with it.
How did you know that you wanted to work in turf?
I actually didn't until I started working turf. It was an opportunity to work in baseball. So for me, I had to jump on the opportunity. Once I started doing it, that's how much I loved it. And from there, it just took off.
What was your time like as a crew leader for the Brooklyn Heaven?
It was a good experience. I was there for 5 years. It was my first job. I learned a lot, met a lot of great people along the way. I had a various amount of positions. I started off as a cashier. Eventually, I went on to become a dock master, and it definitely made me a better person working there. So I enjoyed every year I was there.
What was your time like with the Long Island Ducks as the assistant groundskeeper?
It was a dream come opportunity to work for my hometown team. Was one that I couldn't pass up. So when the opportunity arises itself, I jumped on it, and I'm very thankful I did because it opened a lot of doors for me. And I can't thank everybody with the Long Island Ducks enough for everything they've done for me along the way. I really appreciate it.
What was your time like with the ballpark Palm Beach as the field operation crew?
It was an awesome experience. The ballpark of the park has the Astros and the Nationals as their affiliates, I guess you say. They're in spring training. So it was great that was my first experience in professional baseball with Major League Baseball teams. And they have equipment that I've never seen before. So I learned a lot, met a lot of great people down there. It was my first time living by myself. So I was just blessed to be a part of it.
How has your time with all of those helped you to where you are now with the New York Mets?
I think each experience has definitely led me to where I am right now with the New York Mets, all individually. Without any of them, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. So I thank everybody that's helped me along the way. The grounds crew, or groundskeepers in Hull, they're a very tight-knit group at the industry. So they definitely helped me out.
What was it like whenever you got the job as the grounds crew for the New York Mets?
I was ecstatic when I got the job, when I found out that I was hired. I've been a Mets fan my entire life. It was my dream job coming into it. Once I started working in turf, I knew that this is exactly where I wanted to be, and I hope to be there for a long time.
What are some of your roles and responsibilities as the grounds crew for the Mets?
My roles and responsibilities in my first year last year was a COVID year, so we weren't really able to do what we would usually do. And there's 25 grounds crew for major league teams, most major league teams. So we all have different roles. My role mostly was I would drag the infield prior to a game, take off BP. And then after the game, we just patch up the mound or whatever needed to be tended to. It could be a tedious day, but I love what I do, so I enjoy it.
What does a typical game day look like?
A typical game day requires a lot of attention, more than you'd think from the outside perspective. You wake up very early in the morning and you make sure that the infield dirt is nice and moist and has a lot of moisture to it. Otherwise, it'll crack out and it's not good for playing conditions. So you got to keep it wet all day, especially in the summertime when it's very hot out. So that's a big key. Then after that, you get a cut in, which is perfect for the lines and infield patterns that make it look so aesthetically pleasing to the fan. And after that, it's just making sure the field's ready to go, lining the field, preparing for BP, taking off BP, dragging, watering again, fixing the mound, fixing the plate, fixing the bullpen mounds, stuff like that. So it's a very job, like I said, but enjoyable.
What is the process, of course, like if it rains, like in New York, which is a rare and stuff, but if it rains in New York, what is the process of like making sure the ground is okay to play maybe the next day or so?
So when there's ever a threat of rain, the head groundskeeper, whoever it is, the grounds crew is always checking the radar, making sure that we're good, able to get the game in, and they're in constant communication with whoever the higher up is in that situation. So we definitely keep an eye on it. And in a situation where the games is going on and there's a threat of rain coming up, we all line up right behind the tarp and get ready to pull the tarp. Pulling the tarp could be an adventure sometimes, as I'm sure many of you have seen. But yeah, it's definitely throws you off a little bit when it's raining, but I love the rain personally because it makes me feel like that's when your importance really shines.
What is something that you learn now that you didn't know before you became a groundskeeper for the MLB?
I definitely learned that there's a lot more to it than I had thought originally. From an outside perspective, you just think it's about nice lines and perfect manicured grass, but then when you get into it, it's all about diseases and making sure that the dirt is, moist and stuff like that. And about 60% of the time, maybe even more in some cases, it's all about just making sure the dirt's good for the infielders and whatnot, which is something I hadn't anticipated prior to working in the turf industry.
What is the difference between a groundskeeper and a sports turf?
Sports turf and groundskeeper are essentially the same thing. There's some different titles that come along the way, which varies from position. I was a field crew with Ballpark of the Palm Beaches, but it was no different from being in my role as what I am with the Mets, and a little different from what I was with the Ducks because I had a little advisory role with the Ducks, but all the same, really.
What do you look forward to accomplishing in this upcoming year?
I hope for a very good year. Hopefully we allow a lot of fans back in. I know that New York is allowing, I believe, 25% capacity, which is a big start from where we were, last year. So hopefully at some point this year we'll be able to allow all fans in. I'm hoping for a smooth year, and I'm hoping the Mets win the World Series.
What advice would you give upcoming future people looking to get into groundskeeping on the MLB's major leagues?
Big piece of advice, and this really goes for anybody. If you're interested in sports, I would definitely look into sports turf. It's opened doors for me that I never thought would open up. And if you work hard enough, the opportunities will present itself over time. So I strongly advise looking into sports turf, get into sports. And for anybody that is a groundskeeper, just stick to it and get a lot of connections because the industry is very tight knit and they will help you out. Step one would definitely be getting a LinkedIn and connecting with as many head groundskeepers as you possibly can. And they'll only do wonders for your career.
That's wonderful. Where can my listeners find you at on social media?
On Twitter, I can be found _Smothergil. Instagram is my first name, Dakota._S. And Facebook is my full name, Dakota Smothergil. That's where you can find me.
Thank you again, Dakota Smothergil, for your interview, and best of luck in your future with the New York Mets as the grounds crew.
Thank you, Brandon. I appreciate your time.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Dakota, for your interview, and best of luck.
Thank you.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.